Hi, Joni here. How Project 2025 is reshaping US foreign policy. That will be the topic of today's video. Let's get to it. What does Project 2025 mean for US foreign policy? It's not just a domestic threat. It's a blueprint for isolationism, authoritarianism, and the collapse of US global leadership. The US is going from global superpower to spectator. Allies should be alarmed, because enemies are already celebrating. And that also explains why countries like Russia and China really wanted Trump back in the White House. During his presidential campaign, Trump really tried to downplay Project 2025. He acted like he doesn't know anything about it. But he's a pathological liar. And now that he's back in the White House, he's implementing it. Why? No one really knows the exact reasons, but many of the people backing him in the presidential election were part of Project 2025. And he has appointed several officials who helped write it. Maybe it just aligns well with his ideology. Or maybe he promised some people to implement their policies if they back him. But he's clearly implementing Project 2025 in many ways. And people in his administration are not even trying to hide it anymore. Brendan Carr is leading the FCC, as we saw with the Kimmel case. Russell Vought is running the OMB. Peter Navarro is also back. This is no accident. Carr even trolled someone on Twitter recently when being accused of implementing Project 2025, and confirmed that he is. An online tracker is actually following the implementation of Project 2025, and it shows that 47% of Project 2025's goals have either been implemented or started to be implemented. That's nearly half, and it's reshaping the US government. And all of this in less than a year. Foreign policy is a key part of it, but it's not discussed enough. So we will look at it in today's video. The Heritage Foundation published Project 2025. It's a conservative organization, but it's not known to be fully isolationist. It usually promotes selective engagement, but it's still way more isolationist than what we've gotten used to with previous US administrations. And it's, for example, against foreign aid. It sees China as the main threat to the US, which it is, but it also promotes the idea that the US shouldn't take too much responsibility. The Heritage Foundation is basically a very conservative, semi-isolationist organization, with tons of power, and Project 2025 is a 922-page plan written by them, and we shouldn't be surprised by what's in it. Project 2025 aims to purge civil servants, to expand presidential power, and to dismantle international cooperation. It's authoritarian in structure and isolationist in tone. The foreign policy part of it claims to pivot to Asia, but it's a distraction. Trump is not really shifting focus to Asia. He's using the pivot as an excuse to justify his disengagement from Europe. Ukraine is not mentioned much in Project 2025. It's treated as a divisive issue, left to presidential discretion. And as Trump happens to be a pro-Russian president, people should know what to expect from him. Trump tried to end the war by pressuring Kyiv into an unfair deal, as we saw in the Oval Office. The Trump administration stopped all military aid to Ukraine and didn't put any new sanctions on Russia. J.D. Vance also opposes any funding for Ukraine. The message to Moscow is clear. Trump sides with Russia and won't ever pressure Putin. He of course can't say it openly, so he tries to act like he's neutral, but he actually sides with Russia. And he helps Russia as much as he can without getting caught. Project 2025 also calls to transform NATO, so that allies defend themselves, which usually means less US support and more US isolationism. It also questions US support for the UN and WHO. It seeks to cut foreign aid and to withdraw from global institutions. It's classic isolationism disguised as strategy. And Ukraine is not the only one suffering from it. Taiwan is also at risk. Project 2025 talks tough on China, but it also expects allies like Japan and South Korea to take the lead. All this while the US steps back. And we can see Trump doing that. He also recently declined to approve $400 million in military aid to Taiwan. And he has threatened to pull troops away from Japan and South Korea, which would be a huge gift to China. His record is consistent. He's always soft to enemies and really tough on allies. Project 2025 also promotes religious conservatism abroad. Gender equality is completely removed. Protecting life becomes a core goal of foreign aid, or at least it's supposed to, because that's not what's happening. USAID was supposed to be refocused on religious messaging, but it was ended instead. This is not diplomacy, it's ideological export. Project 2025 draws inspiration from Viktor Orbán's Hungary. Heritage Foundation leaders praise his regime, which happens to be the most corrupt and most authoritarian one in Europe. Orbán is fully aligned with Russia and China. Trump's foreign policy would mirror this model, and it's actually ironic and troubling that conservatives around the world see him as a sort of model. Hungary's economy is extremely weak. It depends on Russian energy and EU subsidies. Hungary ranks as the EU's most corrupt country. It's very authoritarian, with no proper freedom of press. It's pro-China and pro-Russia, militarily extremely weak, not even very Christian, yet it's held as a sort of model by many conservatives around the world. Just makes no sense. These people are either ignorant or dishonest. Or maybe they're just as racist as Orbán and don't care about the rest. Project 2025 is not just bad policy. It's a shift towards authoritarianism at home and abroad. It turns the US into a more and more isolated and declining power, with a government that increasingly resembles regimes it used to oppose. The US is turning from a superpower to a spectator, and Europe really needs to wake up. Ukraine and Taiwan are test cases. As the US abandons both of them, it signals the end of the post-World War II democratic order. Project 2025 is not just a domestic threat, it's a global one. The consequences will not stay contained. Europe must stop expecting anything from Trump. Trump and Putin don't have Europe's best interest at heart. And Trump has shown over and over again that he's not capable of ending the war in Ukraine. He won't end it because he sides with Russia and Russia doesn't want to end it. He just can't pressure Putin. Europe must really step up its defense industry, also step up on its foreign policy, add pressure on Russia, and increase aid to Ukraine. We need to seize the frozen assets and give them to Ukraine. The time to act is now. What do you think about this? How big of an impact do you think that Project 2025 has on Trump's policies? Why do you think that Trump is following Project 2025? Is Trump going to fully disengage from Europe? How long will it take for him to do that? I want to hear your takes on this. Write them in the comments. That was it for today's video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, please like and subscribe and see you in the next video. Thank you.